2019, containing the names of my past sexual partners. There's so much to unravel in this situation, and I'm not sure where to start. We're both police officers and used to work for the same agency. In my late teens and early 20s, I made some regrettable decisions regarding my sexual partners, and I was quite promiscuous. Fast forward to the present, he still works at the department I left about 3.5 years ago. I had engaged in intimate relationships with individuals from his workplace, of which he wasn't entirely aware. I want to emphasize that I had no intention of being deceitful, but the revelation is causing a lot of tension, and I'm taken aback by how he's communicating with me. He went through my journal because, in his words, things were too good to be true, and stumbled upon a list from 2019 in my notes on my private journal, 3 years before we were together. Needless to say, the number is a lot higher than I previously disclosed to him. I can't help but feel like it was a blatant invasion of my privacy. Not using it as an excuse entirely, but I was sexually abused by my uncle from the age of 5, and found myself to be extremely curious sexually at a very young age. I was actively involved with multiple men, struggling to maintain a committed relationship with just one person. It was an easy path for me, given my attractiveness. I sought validation from men, and the thrill of meeting new people excited me more than the actual intimacy itself. During the heyday of Craigslist, I took a turn into escorting, and I slept with over 263 men before I even turned 21. I remember the number vividly because it served as documentation for my security. A few near-death scares prompted me to reconsider my lifestyle, and that's when I decided to turn my life around. Interestingly, during that phase, I was involved with a married police officer who was one of my customers. He tried to convince me to join law enforcement, but I brushed it off at that time. This continued into my early 20s when I decided to join law enforcement. I quickly rose to become the most desirable woman in the force. Despite initially cautioning myself against mixing business with pleasure, I succumbed to temptation. It all began when a fellow male officer hosted a party, inviting most of my coworkers. Thinking it was a regular gathering, it turned out to be an orgy, and I engaged in sexual activities with some of my coworkers who were present. After the party, I continued sexual relationships with multiple coworkers, sometimes involving their wives and girlfriends for added excitement. However, after about 2 years on the force, jealousy crept in, and the environment became toxic. It reached a point where I had to quit the force and transition into a management position in a security company, seeking a more secure and stable environment for myself. After moving to a new position, I made a conscious decision to turn my life around. I ended my flings and started attending therapy to address the childhood trauma and cleanse myself from past experiences. Keeping a journal had been a lifelong habit that helped me cope in both good and bad times. In this journal, I documented not only my daily life, but also included a list of all my sexual partners, relationships, and even my time as an escort, something I now regret. After 3 years at my new job and consistent therapy, I felt like I'd undergone a complete rehabilitation. Then I attended a security expert conference where I connected with a man. However, my enthusiasm dampened when I discovered that he worked in the same police department where I had a past that I desperately wanted to forget. I didn't take him seriously and somewhat pushed him away, admitting that I didn't leave the department on good terms. However, I didn't delve into the specifics of the individuals, or how many people he currently worked with that I had been intimate with. Despite my reservations, he pursued me persistently, and against my better judgment, I decided to entertain him with a date. Initially, I didn't take our connection seriously, but he slowly warmed up to me. I found myself enjoying his company. He was kind, good-looking, and had a solid head on his shoulders. He couldn't believe his luck that I would give him the time of day, eagerly looking forward to introducing me to his family and friends. However, I hesitated, knowing that his friends were aware of my past. We dated for 6 months before I mustered the courage to disclose my intimate history with some colleagues from my previous workplace. Surprisingly, he didn't want to dwell on it, asserting that my past was my past, and what mattered was our future together. His understanding and acceptance impressed me, and I was wholeheartedly committed to making the relationship work. About a year into our relationship, I discovered that I was pregnant. He was initially happy about the news, but that's when things took a turn for the worse. He announced my pregnancy to some of his friends and even shared pictures of us taken during his vacation. His friends identified me and revealed my past to him. Knowing about my journal-keeping habit, he came home and turned my things upside down, eventually reading my journal. That's when he discovered the comprehensive list of all my past partners. His reaction was explosive. At 10 weeks pregnant, he had been drinking, and he woke me up with a barrage of screams. He called me disgusting, expressed regret about getting me pregnant, and claimed he would never have touched me with a 10-foot pole. The hurtful words continued, including remarks about nobody claiming me. The situation had escalated into a painful and tumultuous confrontation. He knew a significant portion of my past before entering our relationship, but not all of it. He once mentioned, before discovering the list, that he rarely goes down on me because all he can think about is the number of people I've been with, while I, on the other hand, go down on him every time we are intimate. His trust in me has crumbled, and he's overwhelmed by major insecurities. I'm at a loss for what to do. None of my friends or family knows about this, and they all adore him. Despite being a good person, his reaction has left me questioning everything. When I suggested couples therapy, he rejected the idea. Initially, he claimed he didn't care about me and would only co-parent, but now he's expressing a willingness to stay in the relationship. I'm torn between leaving and co-parenting or staying and attempting to salvage the relationship. The way he reacted has created a significant rift, and I'm uncertain about the path forward. What should I do?